Hey, we're Set Mo.
And we're here chatting with Milky.
Sometimes hard to realize for us because it's such a gradual process that looking back at stuff we wrote, 10 years ago now, it's we've definitely come a ways, but sometimes we're really close to it, so it's hard to say exactly. We're definitely better producers, definitely better songwriters.
We've got better taste now, I'd say.
Hopefully.
It's all personal, right? We actually put a lot of confines around the sonics with this album. The previous album we'd written all over the world, and basically the one consistent thing was the laptop. So we use like lots of sounds from within the laptop, but every time we're in different studios and using different pieces of gear. Whereas these three synths that you see here, two Prophets and a Moog Sub 37, a bass synth, we basically use those three synths on every song. So having that constraint meant that we could really experiment with these and get to know them a lot better, which was fun. And I think it's also led to a more cohesive sound across the album.
So this is by Moog, the same people that made that Model D, which was the first synthesizer on a recording, apparently. And then these are by the late, great Dave Smith, sequential. So this is a Prophet 6 and this is a Prophet 12. Doesn't mean it's twice as good.
And there are nicknames for it. So Thicky up the top because you get the thick bass sounds. Hot Stuff in the middle because it's our favourite child, and then Complicated down the bottom because we've had it the longest and still don't exactly know.
Yeah, look, I don't think we're going to touch that one, it's too complicated. We love writing. If we're ever collaborating with someone, being in the same room is really, really important. Just so we're all on the same page, kind of like conceptually, emotionally. We often say it's like doing sessions with other people. It's a lot like speed dating, A lot of the time we haven't met them before. Yeah, so it's like they'll hop in the studio. It's like, hey, what are you about? What do you like? Cool. Here's our overlap. Let's write a song. So,
favorite food.
Yeah, totally. So that's like the main thing. We'll invite someone into the studio. We'll get to know them. We had a pretty clear concept with Flux being change and exploring different aspects of change. So we kind of would talk through that with whoever we were writing with. And then from there, we'd start on the keys, generally speaking, find some chords that kind of spoke to the emotion or particular theme that we were exploring and go from there.
As Stu kind of touched on just before, there was a really clear concept as we went into writing this body of work. The first album, again, was kind of a collection of songs written with different people. And the reason that album was called Surrender is it was basically just we surrendered to writing all these different songs and didn't have a clear theme throughout them. Whereas this body of work, we sat down prior to starting it and figured about what we really wanted to talk about. And that being change, as we'd had a big couple of years as Set Mo. We'd put out our first album, built our first live show, toured it. We'd played some of the biggest shows of our career. In that same time period, we'd also had pretty big times individually. I got engaged and had my first child, and I moved house, and Stu exited a long-term relationship, moved into a new house, met a new partner. So it felt like a lot had happened in a short period of time. So we really wanted to explore that. And then as we went into writing all these songs, even the ones with vocalists, but also the ones without, we just tried to explore those different aspects of change, whether that be a new beginning or saying goodbye to someone, or some of the change that can be by choice or some that just happens to you and you have no control over. But when we were working with vocalists, we'd always sit down at the beginning and kind of tell them that story and let them know what we wanted to communicate, and then we just zone in on something a bit more specific that kind of fitted within that little chapters within the book.
It's a good question. It's I think a bit of a mix. Camp 8, Ruben, who we wrote Something to Dream of with, he was recommended by our publisher actually, and he was just like, you got to check out this amazing singer out of Melbourne, and listen to some of his music. And he's just got, clearly such an incredible voice that I think we booked a flight to Melbourne like within a week. Yeah. It was so quick, and we were just like, we have to go and write with this guy. And then Jess Ken on Out My Mind. We've known Jess for years and just kind of like seen her around the festival circuits, but somehow I'd never jumped in the studio together and written a song. So that was a fun one to explore. And then Jack on Let Yourself Go. He's from a band called Mansionaire, an amazing band. And he's just we kind of met him through a writing camp Is that right? That was the first session? How did...
No, I think we played it. Yeah, actually, the last tour we did before kind of lockdowns and stuff was called For the Love, and Manchinair were also on that tour. So we'd briefly met him then, and we'd always said, let's jump in the studio. And Jack ended up being probably one of the key collaborators on the album. We wrote several songs with him. Only one ended up making it onto the record, but he was really into kind of exploring this whole concept of change, and he's just a great songwriter. He's really meticulous with lyrics and melodies, and it was really fun to kind of bring him into the room and the process and explore these different concepts with him. And then the last vocalist is a duo from Tassie called Sumner. Chloe is singing on the track Second Line. I think just stumbled across their music on either the radio or Spotify and really liked it, listened to a couple things in here. And then when we wrote the song Second Line, we're kind of just trying to find the voice that would be the right fit for that and kind of tell that story. It's quite a personal song to us about loss, and Chloe absolutely nailed it. We hadn't met her in person at that time. It was just a few Zooms. They're based down in Tasmania and a bit of back and forth, but yeah, she sounds incredible on that record. This is like picking your favorite child. I would say All I Need. It's a track that I think really well encompasses what Set Mo is about and has always been about. There's familiarity in it, while also it's definitely this new chapter of Set Mo and the new sound as well. And I just think it's a beautiful song. It's really emotive, and it's just, yeah, that song is kind of about just going out and giving it your all and realizing that, you know, you're in charge. So I think there's a nice message behind it as well. I know what Stu's going to say.
What am I going to say? I know what you think I'm going to say, and it's not that. It's not specific to the question. I would say that's actually, I agree with you, All I Need, but I was going to say Something to Dream Of, because that's kind of, we were really channeling some quintessential Set Mo vibes there. But All I Need is a better answer. I'm going with you on this one.
Yeah. Look, we get one each, so we can both go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen to both. Listen to the whole.
Listen to the whole album, really. Yeah. Now I can say what I was going to say. Choose You First is that for me. I think it was a really fun song to make. It was just Nick and I making it, but it's still vocal led. We did a bunch of sampling and kind of put the beat together from a bunch of different places, and it was something kind of very new to us in terms of the process. But every time I listen to that song and the message, like Choose You First, I don't know, just really resonates with me personally.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different lyrics that I think are pretty catchy on this album, but I also do often quite find myself singing some of the musical elements, and there's like a couple of the clubbier tracks on the album that we sometimes refer to as the cheeky bangers. For example, On Fire, there's like this little acid line that's just bow, 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 and I just find myself walking around the house doing that, and yeah, bow, 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 bow. So yeah, I'm a big fan of some of those slightly more catchy, like little acid lines that we've incorporated on this body of work. We've actually spent a lot of time and effort kind of planning this right now, because yeah, the last album we put out and we built our first live show, and it was pretty live, kind of as live as two people can get on a stage playing electronic music. We were playing different synths and hitting drum pads and playing with effects, and there was like a male and a female vocalist that were out with us, and we've decided that we want to do something completely different on this for a couple of reasons. One is to just mix it up and, you know, keep pushing it forward, but also I think the music on this album as well, there's definitely a bit of a darker, ravier side. The whole album except that one track, Something to Dream Of, was written in this studio. It's our first studio that hasn't had any natural light, so I think inherently that just led to the music being a bit darker, clubbier and more banging in certain bits. So we're building a show with that in mind. Obviously we want to pay homage to our old stuff, but just really incorporating and bringing that new stuff into a kind of a slightly more ravey element, I guess.
I think extremely for that exact reason. I think, you know, one, we write the music to express ourselves, but two, you know, the biggest payoff is seeing people dancing and singing like to the music at a show. So that's one of the main drivers, really. It's so important, and that's why we're spending a lot of time building this show, because we know how fun it is going to a great show and seeing your favourite artist smash it. So we hope to create that experience for everyone that's going to support us and come to the shows.
Chemical Brothers.
Prodigy.
Pharrell Williams.
It's too hard to answer.
3, 2, 1.
Can't.
Rick Rubin. Moby Play.
Untrue by Burial.
Matrix. First one. I don't know if I'm thinking that much. You're kind of just in the zone, in the flow state.
Fuck yeah. Like that's normally where I'm like, fuck yeah, this is sick. Like
It's either fuck yeah or don't fuck up.
yeah. Less that one though.
Yeah. I'm Miley Cyrus.
Miley. The very first one was like Three Blind Mice on piano. That was because that was the first song I could actually play. It's pretty easy, but sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
I'm talking a long time ago, by the way, not now. Yeah. Progressed a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like an old record my dad used to play, like Sonia Dada or James Brown or something. Michael Jackson, Black or White. Used to pump that. Justin Timberlake, Justified tour.
Incubus, Crow Left of the Murder. Oh, I reckon it's Daft Punk, Pyramid. I can't remember what the actual tour was called. Is that what it was called? Pyramid Tour? Homework? No, not Discovery? Pyramid one. Last one.
After all?
The last one they did.
That was a really good show. I saw Tame Impala last year and it blew my mind. It was incredible. Spice Girl for me.
Yeah, Spice Girl. Why not? Nick's definitely Spicy Spice.
All right. Stew's Sleepy Spice.
Anywhere in Ibiza would be incredible.
Oh yeah, Pasha in Ibiza. We've spoken about that. It's right on the top of the bucket list. We often talk about Listen Out Sydney 2019.
Yep.
It was like, we put out the album about 6 months prior. We'd done our own headline tour. We'd done Splendor in the Grass, and it kind of just felt when like the live show everything was working. We weren't nervous playing instruments on stage anymore. Everyone was nailing it. There was a great crowd. Sun was peeking out from behind the clouds. Everything lined up. Yeah.
I really like listening to sad music. It makes me feel good. So Pyramid Song by Radiohead. And it like, often I'll lie on my bed and listen to it, which makes me look quite depressed from the outside, but I'm having a good time. I'm not wallowing in sorrow. I'm like really just enjoying the musicality of that song.
Guilty pleasure. I grew up listening to a lot of hip hop, and I still go back to like the 90s hip hop. Like last week I put on Nas, Illmatic, still bangs.
I was listening to Mos Def. What's the one with Auditorium on it? I forgot the name. It's not on Spotify, so I don't remember the names.
On YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Listen to that. Off brand though. Oh no, you'd know better than me. I feel like I don't pay that much attention. Oh yeah, that's a great one. Piano music. Just love listening to peaceful piano music. It's beautiful. Metallica for getting really upset about like all the music piracy and making people pirate music more and pushing us to streaming faster unintentionally.
Huge. Deep.
Yeah. That's a great answer, to be honest. That's a real...
Yeah, I'm going with Stu's answer.
Keep being consistent.
I was going to say consistency. So there.
Yeah, it's my weakest point, but I've worked on it the last 12 months, and I feel like I've come a long way. If I can go that far again, I'll be stoked.
1% every day. I do remember mine actually, and it was actually DJ first over musician. When I first started going to concerts, I saw Jurassic 5 at the Hordern Pavilion in Sydney, and yeah, they've got 2 DJs in that group, and watching them up there on the turntables and just making an art form. So they're almost musicians, just what they do with turntables. I was like, that would be incredible to do, even just as a hobby, let alone as a career. And here we are. Can't scratch, but can mix.
I think for me, I never planned on being a muso. Like I studied music in school and stuff, but like I wasn't particularly good at it. And then it was just going clubbing. I think going clubbing lots and then being like, I want to be the guy behind the decks. And that was it. It was kind of a late start, but here we are. That's how we met.
It is how we met.
Just a minute ago. Yeah.